revisiting my dreams with the king.
Welcome to the ride, a journey to your dreams. I'm Johnny King III, aka Still Chill Leroy, and this is a Revisit Your Dreams podcast. I have a very special guest with me today. I'm very excited about this episode. This individual is accomplished in ways that most of us wouldn't even dream of trying to go down this road. But I'm very excited to interview him. I just want to remind you before we get started, Revisit Your Dreams podcast will be airing every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Revisit Your Dreams channel on youtube.com. I also want to remind you before we introduce our very special guest today, while we're here, Revisit Your Dreams. Our mission here is to motivate, to encourage, to inspire, to share knowledge and wisdom, and to explore real life testimonies of trial, error, and success, maybe even provide a few laughs along the way. My very special guest today is currently a 767 air captain at FedEx, has over 20 years of flight experience. He's an ordained minister and an engaging public speaker. He's a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, my brother, an equally proud graduate of Tennessee State University, and is arguably the greatest Tiger mascot in TSU history. Welcome to the show, my brother, Minister, Captain Brian Harris.
What's up, Johnny? Thanks for inviting me, brother. It's glad to be here with you today on the ride.
Thank you for being here, man. Again, we're here to inspire people, to motivate, to encourage people, and just sharing your journey. So your journey and answering some of these questions will help someone out there reach someone. If we reach one person, then that's what this show was designed to do. So I like to start off a little bit with each guest. I like to tell each guest I'll tell the audience about how I know each guest or how I met each guest. Everybody that I'm interviewing, at least in the onset, are individuals that I know personally. I've had some type of relationship with. I've even met them at a networking event. We shared a drink here or there. I met them at a social event, or, we've worked together or something like family member. So as far as Brian Harris is concerned, we both went to Tennessee State University, so I can affectionately talk about him as the greatest TSU Tiger mascot, because I was there in the stands watching him most of those football games. We're also a member of the same fraternity, although he pledged and crossed, many years before I did, but we have that connection as well. So that's my relationship with Brian. I don't know if you have any more feedback on that, Brian. If not, we can go ahead and get started.
You hit the nail on the head. We just faithful Tennessee State Tigers, man. Go back a long way, back 1992. Watson Hall, I believe you on the second floor too, right? Second floor. So we go back a long way. So I'm happy to be here today.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. So just to start, I introduced you as an air captain. Like you've embarked on something that most people wouldn't even dream of doing. Many people fly. Many people sit in, passenger seats of an airplane, but most of us couldn't even imagine sitting in your seat flying that airplane. Whether it's people on board or packages on board or what have you. But before we get to the captain part, talk a little bit about your journey and your pathway through our alma mater, Tennessee State University, and your love for the HBCU.
All right. Well, I wanted to be a pilot since I was in the sixth grade, and I had applied once I graduated high school to several different colleges that had aviation programs: Hampton, Tuskegee, Tennessee State. Then I applied to a few more schools, but it ended up landing at Tennessee State. That was not my first choice, but I'm so glad I made Tennessee State my only choice, and it turned out to be great. The relationships that I built, majored in aeronautical technology at Tennessee State. And I actually played baseball my freshman year. Then we lost the program, and then that's how I kind of transitioned into becoming the mascot. But Tennessee State was a very pivotal point in my life as far as laying a foundation on who I was to become professionally. Working in the aeronautical department or the AIT building that most students didn't even know it existed. Didn't even know when I tell them my players majored in aeronautical technology, they didn't even know we had the major at Tennessee State. Uh, but the instructors, my fellow classmates, we all pushed each other, and it propelled me to where I am today. Being able to, even though we didn't have airplanes, we had all the book knowledge. So I was able to go to two flight schools after that and get the ratings and the licenses that I need to be where I am today.
Man, that's an amazing journey going through TSU. You're right. Most people did not know that TSU had an aeronautical program. I surely didn't. And I
Yes.
remember being on campus and learning that you were in that program. I'm like, where is he going to school? Where is he learning this stuff at?
Right.
Like, who's his classmate? Who
Right.
who else is in this program? I remember that. So it was very unique experience. Um, um, let's. I just want the audience to get a little bit about your personality more. A pilot and a captain and a minister are very respectable positions, are very honorable positions, are very revered positions for a lot of different reasons and a lot of different ways. But I want the audience to know a little bit about you in a personal way before we get to that. You represented a very iconic image and figure in the Tennessee State University sports lexicon, the Tiger mascot. Talk about your
Yes.
journey of earning that role, keeping it your entire college career, and then what that representation means to you today.
So how that came about, I shall never forget. We were at a basketball game, and I was in regular clothes, and a buddy of mine,
Mm-hmm.
Akeel Simmons, Akeel and I were sitting in the game, and I was like, man, I know I can do better than that mascot. I know I can do a better job. So I went down and I had a conversation with the cheerleading manager and or the advisor or the coach, whatever. And I said, I can be the mascot. I can do better than the person that's doing it at the time, and the person that was doing it didn't really want to do it. So that night, the very night I went down there, I actually got in the mascot uniform. The very same day that I expressed my
Mm-hmm.
interest, and it was history from that point on. So that was freshman year, the second semester of my freshman year, and I was able to be the mascot when I went playing baseball, and then once we stopped playing baseball, I was the mascot full time, and it worked out great for me. Or I may have the years. No, it was my sophomore year that I became the mascot, but it uh, I really enjoyed it. I could be silly and funny, and people didn't know who I was, and I could just be as crazy and as loose as I wanted to be, and still be
Yeah.
incognito. And it was just fun. It was a great opportunity. I had confidence in myself that I could do a better job, and I was able to not only do basketball but do baseball. I mean, do basketball and football games and travel with the team, and it was just a
Man,
great
that
experience.
that I didn't know that that's how you got that role. But that's the testimonies and the stuff that we're talking about on this program. Like, shoot your shot. You know what I mean? Like, he
Right,
shot his shot. He went out and he said, I can do better. Went right down there and talked to the manager, and then ended up talking to the mascot. Had the next game, he had the mask on. He had the costume on. And I'll be honest with you, when you say you could be in the costume and nobody knew who you were. We knew it was Brian Harris in that costume, in that mascot. But when you were down there, you did such a great job. We forgot that it was Brian Harris in that mascot. We just
right.
knew you as the TSU Tiger.
Well, I did all I was supposed to
We
do.
just
That's
knew
good.
you as the TSU Tiger. You know what I mean? Like, if you
Right,
recall, nobody was approaching you as the TSU Tiger outside of that uniform. But so
right.
you did an amazing job of representing TSU in that way. I just want to give you your
Thanks,
flowers
brother.
on that. And also, so of all the career paths, you mentioned aviation at TSU and it being a unique field of study at TSU. Not many people, knew it existed. You also mentioned that you found an interest in aviation. I think you said like 6 years old, if I heard you correct. Sixth grade. I'm
Sixth
sorry,
grade.
6 years old is a little young. Sixth grade. What what led you to aviation? Like what attracted you to aviation at that age? And then moving forward, once you answer that, like how challenging was it for you to find your way in that career field once you decided that's what I want to do?
When I was in sixth grade, my older brother said he wanted to be an airline pilot. So just like most younger brothers, I wanted to be like my older brother, and I said I want to be an airline pilot too. But I got involved. My parents got me involved in a program through the Boy Scouts called the Explorer program, and I was in the aviation division of that program. And we met at the Memphis International Airport every Monday night. And in the summertime, we would go to various Air Force bases or military bases and get a chance to tour and see airplanes. And at that point, I was hooked. So when I got to high school, one of the guidance counselors found out that I wanted to be a pilot, and her husband was a FedEx pilot. So she just kept encouraging me, telling me what I needed to do, and pushing me. So that's when it was solidified. And some schools had come to visit uh, my high school here in Memphis, one being Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, but it was just too expensive. So I couldn't go. And I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anybody that I could bounce stuff off of. I had never seen a black pilot. Hadn't talked to any pilot. So it was just, I'm trying to figure this thing out on my own, along with my parents. So Tennessee State it was. Went to Tennessee State, as I mentioned, got my degree, left there. Actually worked in insurance for a year. Once again, just because I didn't know how to make it to the next step. But I was in the airport in Knoxville one spring, and I was walking through the airport, and I saw this pilot. I just walked to him and said, "Hey, how do I get to where you are?" And he mentioned a school called Comair Aviation Academy, which was in Sanford, Florida. So I was headed to Disney World, and once I got back, my dad and I called, and they flew us down. We visited and toured, and just a few months later, I was enrolled in school and flying airplanes. And along the journey, a few bumps in the road, just because you don't have a mentor, you're just trying to once again figure this out. I was the only person of color in my class in flight school, so you're dealing with that. I wasn't treated any type of way. Everybody was cool, but it's still, you're the only one there. So, there was a black flight instructor. I remember us flying together. He said, "Now, we can't mess this up, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, we can't be the only two brothers in the whole
The
school
whole
and we mess
culture
it up."
riding on us, man.
Right. So, and he's a pilot today, as well with, JetBlue. And so, um, it's just this kind of come full circle, to want to be a pilot. And then FedEx being a dream in high school, and I'm at FedEx now. Got a chance to fight people as well early on in my career.
Because
So,
FedEx is
uh,
where your hometown is, right? Is based in Memphis. Is that do you?
correct, right? My dad actually worked in management for 25 years at FedEx. So it's kind of, you want to fight for your
Yeah,
hometown airline. So, and I'm
that's
getting to do
amazing.
that right now. And I get, I do more than just fly. I get to teach as well. So I'm actually in Memphis right now. I had a chance to teach this morning, so I'll teach tomorrow as well. So it's just I
When you
get to do
say
more than
teach, are you
fly. I get
training
to
other pilots to fly? Okay.
I am not to fly. I teach what's called human factors. So it's just dealing with safety aspect, recognizing when, hey, there are some threats out there and how we mitigate those threats so they don't
Okay.
become errors.
Man, that's an amazing journey. And, I understand, or at least I understood just from a visual perspective, observing the landscape, that there probably aren't that many black pilots. I know I fly not a lot, but often enough to know that I don't see
Right.
many that look like and the few times
Right.
I have, put a smile on my face. I think we gonna be good. Just playing gonna land. We
Right.
straight.
Right.
not,
Right.
not no disrespect to any other captains out there.
Right.
Man, talk about the challenges involved with being a black aviator and a black captain. I understand you had challenges coming up with maybe not having mentors, but once you got to that place and now maybe you are the mentor, you are the person that other people are looking up to. Talk about the challenges of being in that position and, maintaining that position as a black man?
Right. It's just it's, as I tell my daughters, you have to always do your best, and that's just how I've approached it. I have not had any necessarily overt uh, racism or anything as it pertains to my progression in the aviation world. I've not to my face, but I've had people come back and tell me what people have said. Uh, as you know, I was in management at my previous airline, and so there were people who were saying I got the job just because of my color,
Mm-hmm.
skin color, or they wanted, a token in there, so on and
Yeah.
so forth. But I knew it was not that. I knew it was based on my work ethic and the skill set that I brought to that office, and the fact that I knew I was going to treat everyone fairly. And even if you were one of the people that I knew was out there bad mouthing me based on thinking they hired me for a certain thing or reason, or because I was
Mm-hmm.
just a black guy, period. Uh, but I've always tried to do my best to uh, make sure that I didn't leave the position or the seat in a worse off position so that it would make it hard for people behind me to come
Mm-hmm.
through the ranks. So I didn't want to kind of mess it up in a sense. So I always made sure I had my T's crossed and my I's dotted so that I could pave the way for those that were coming behind me who may not have someone to mentor them, but also at the same time not messing it up so that if they did have someone mentor them, it makes it even harder for them
Yeah.
to get to where uh,
Yeah, because
I was or to achieve.
you didn't have that mentor, and now have you become that mentor? Have you found that there are others that you are now mentoring into the space that you're in?
Absolutely. I have several young aspiring pilots that I mentor and talk to. Just I had a conversation with one just last week who is getting his ratings. One young man I was mentoring just got hired at an airline, so he's happy. So it's rewarding to be able to give back. And I'm a part of the organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, and through that organization, we're able to help a lot of aspiring pilots of color, or just aspiring pilots. Period. We don't necessarily discriminate, but our focus is on people of pilots
Oh
and
yeah,
people of
I mean
color.
it's necessary. In most industries, there is a necessary representation for us to have that. There's a need for us to have that representation in most industries because we are underrepresented and sometimes don't get the fair shakes that are expected. When you put forth the effort to go to school, to earn your degree, to get this certificate,
Right.
all these flight hours you're putting in, you expect, the same, opportunities as everyone else who's done that.
Correct.
And so, all right, man, this is a question, that I was kind of getting you thinking a little bit, but in your final days, as an older man, prayerfully, you'll live to be beyond 100. I mean, I think that's most people's desired mark is beyond
Right.
100. Um, in your final days, what are you most likely to never forget about your career as an aviator?
I probably will never forget the people I was able to help along the way, whether it be via mentorship or whether it be via my role in management at my previous airline. Just to be able to pray with people who were going through, to be able to give an encouraging word. Um, and and I'm not to toot my own horn, but one of the greatest compliments I've gotten is from a senior person, a Caucasian pilot, who told me I was the best chief pilot he'd ever had, who'd been at the company over
Yeah,
20 or 30 years. So it's a great
absolutely.
compliment to know that my work ethic, the way I treated people fairly, regardless of regardless of anything, everyone got treated fairly, and everybody got the same amount of respect, and it showed. So it just the lives I've been able to touch, and just uh, the people I've helped get to where they
Man,
are.
I imagine that, having someone like you in a space that has gone through all the things you've gone through to get to where you've gotten, and be able to mentor people through the same challenges when you didn't have that, is very powerful. And I think you're being probably rewarded and fulfilled in a number of ways, existentially as a result of you doing that. I think that's a great thing. I know you probably wish you had that mentor when you were when you were there,
Right.
and but as a result, you're like, I'm gonna be that person. I'm not gonna ignore the calling to be that person for other people or to keep the stage clean for them when they arrive.
Right.
I thought that was awesome. And you also talked about using that position for praying for people and helping people in other ways, and I think that's very powerful too. You're an ordained minister, and when we talk about your life and your career as a minister, how important is it to you that your professional career make room for your personal and spiritual desires and obligations?
I mean, it's all intertwined in a sense because you really can't separate. I can't separate who I am from what I do. Uh, even though those are two separate things, who I am is Brian Harris. What I do is fly airplanes. What I
Mm-hmm.
do is minister. But that's not who I am is Brian Harris, um, and all that's intertwined. For me, it's all about humility. It's I have never been the type to think I was better than. When my first job as a pilot, to make ends meet, because when I first started 20 some years ago, the pay was just
Mm-hmm.
trash, for
Mm-hmm.
lack of a better term. So I had to get a job as a server and a waiter at a restaurant just to make ends meet. But that being a server and a waiter, even though I was flying airplanes as a professional pilot, is helped
Mm-hmm.
me with my humility, helped me to be a better captain, helped me to be a better pilot, helped me to be a better minister because you really have to humble yourself to here I am, people, man, you're a pilot, but then you see me in here
Mm-hmm.
waiting
Mm-hmm.
tables. You know what I'm saying? Working at a bar as a bartender. And it's just, hey, I can't be worried about, I might be a pilot, but I still
Exactly.
gotta eat. And the money I was making was not sufficient. I mean, I literally could have been on food stamps, but I was not so caught up in the title of being a pilot than I was in knowing what I had to do to make sure my family was provided for, make sure I had food on
Mm-hmm.
the table. So I just look back, a lot of people just see where you are now and they don't understand what you have to go through to get to where you are. I had to do a lot of grinding. I worked as a bartender server for 8 years while still flying as
Mm-hmm.
a pilot. So it's just I mean, it's just the will to make it happen.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do it for you. You got to make it happen on your own. And that's what I did. And as far as my ministry life, it's just my dad was a pastor or still is a pastor. And it was just, I've been through some stuff in my life. That was a time in my life I just didn't even think I was worthy enough to be in
Mm-hmm.
anybody's church. Just out there wilding out and,
We all been
just
through
having a
that,
good time.
man.
Right, right. But I accepted the call to ministry at April 4th, 2011, and just been my life changed. I got promotions at work shortly thereafter. It's just and it's I've been able to incorporate the ministry side in what I do because like right now at work we're talking about mental health and just suicide and all that type of stuff. So I'm able to incorporate that the caring side of a loving God and into some of those conversations and it's been great.
Man, one thing that I hear, the common theme that I've heard in all of your responses, or most of your responses is ambition. You seem to be a very ambitious individual. I mean, I've observed you be ambitious in different ways, but you telling your story, I hear it even more when how you went down, to talk to the manager to get the TSU mascot role, how you stopped the captain in the airport and say, how do I get to where you're at?
Right.
Um,
Right.
accepting the call to ministry and now using that on in your professional platform as well to help people. I think is all part of your personal ambition to be better than you were yesterday, more, to be more for other people. I don't even know how to describe it, but I see ambition and I hear ambition all in your story. And this is why we do this podcast. Why I'm doing this podcast. I feel like I was led to do this podcast for people out there who need ambition or who also have ambition,
Right.
but may not have that mentor. Now they know a pathway like that ambition, your ambition led you to say, I don't have a mentor, but I'm going to go seek one instead of waiting for one to fall in my lap. Or, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I just think that's a great testimony. If you could, we're almost done here, Brian. You've been really good, man. I appreciate the time. If you could offer a single phrase or quote or mantra or scripture to everyone, if you knew that they would take heed to it, everyone you meet, if you knew that they would take heed to it, what would that be?
Actually, I have two. I would say first, don't give up. And then I would say Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Just trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. I, and I mentioned it earlier, you just see where a person is now. I had applied for two jobs, two other airlines. I applied for Delta and I applied for UPS. And they both told me no. Uh, while I was the chief pilot in management at the previous airline. They both told me that I was kind of devastated. I was like, man, I got all these credentials. I should be good. And so that was in December of 2015. So then in 2016, I got an interview again with Delta, another with the UPS, and I got my first interview with FedEx, which was my dream job. And three interviews in that August of 2016, and I got all three jobs, and I was able to go to my dream job with FedEx. And so if I had gotten the jobs at any of those other places, I would never have been able to realize the dream that I originally had. So it was all about not giving up, all about it's in the Lord's timing. It's going to happen when it's supposed to. Don't get discouraged just because it hadn't happened yet. Don't ever give up. Keep pressing on. Keep dreaming because it's going to happen when it's supposed to and when you're
Man,
ready
that's a
for it.
great word. That is a great word. I know if you're watching, I don't care who you are, you can benefit from taking heed to that word. The question was, what would you tell everyone if you knew they would take heed to it? Everyone could benefit from that word, Brian. So I appreciate you delivering that. Your ambition is evident, even in you working 8 years as a server, as a bartender, while you have you currently possess a pilot license, but you're working as a server and a bartender for 8 years, wondering when am I going to get that opportunity to sit behind those controls, and actually do the work I spent all these years going to school for and, struck.
No, Johnny. No, Johnny. I was actually a pilot flying for an airline working as a server because the pay wasn't good.
Oh my goodness. That's a whole nother level
No,
too.
that's right. So I'm sitting here flying airplanes on one day. The next night I might be waiting
Oh, that's
tables.
a whole nother level. So forgive me for thinking that way. Forgive me, audience, for portraying it in that manner. But that's still the ambition because I mean,
Yes,
you got
you
to
got to
make it
make it
happen.
happen.
And, I'm sure you're having conversations with people while you're serving or waiting tables about different things about
Yes,
aviation. And they're like, well, what you doing here? Like you said, you know what I mean? You mentioned
right.
that.
That's
And
the
yeah,
question.
so yeah, but you have to have a high level of ambition to still keep going to work every day, to
Yes,
still keep going to doing that dual schedule, flight then bartend, flight then serve
right.
tables. At some point, most of us would have said, I'm going to do one. I'm either going full time this route or the other. You know, so man, very good, because what it lets people know is that, um, like you said, it's all in God's timing, and don't quit, don't give
It
up.
is.
The quickest way, to not get to your destination is to quit. It might take a long time to get there, but the
Right.
quickest way to not get there is to quit. So, I
Right.
got one last thing for you, Brian. You've been a great guest, man. Um, I like this segment I have at the end is called "What's Your Rush?" as in Mount Rushmore. So in Mount Rushmore, there's four iconic faces on the Mount Rushmore, and so my question to you is, what is your Mount Rushmore of the four most inspirational people to you in your life?
That would be my mom, my dad, my wife.
Okay, okay, and a fourth? Do you have a fourth? That's three. You got four.
Oh, it's gonna put me up there. And I'm just kidding. Uh,
Hey, that ain't a bad thing.
no, I don't see my mom. Well, the Father,
Okay.
the Son, and the Holy Ghost. God
I
contribute
got you.
on
I
that as
got you.
well.
Any particular reason? I mean, I know it's your wife and it's your mother and the father, but any particular
Oh,
reason
she's
why
my.
you chose them?
I mean, outside of my parents, my wife is my biggest supporter, my biggest cheerleader. I would not be able to do what I do and be where I am if it were not for her love and her support, her patience. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. If it weren't for the support of my parents, pushing me, who instilled in me, hey, you got to treat everybody like you want to be treated. Always do your best. Put God first, and they have pushed and supported with not only love but with funds as well, and with discipline. They were definitely believers in spare the rod, spoil the child. So I got my fair share of whippings, which helped me to be who the person I am today. And it's just, if it were not for their sacrifices, I wouldn't be where I am today. And then of course God. Without God, I can do nothing. Without Him, I would fail. Without Him, I would be like a ship without a sail. So uh, you got to put
Yeah.
Him up there. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Brian, you're amazing, man. You're amazing. I mean, I knew you as a cool dude on campus, man. I knew you as the TSU mascot. I remember when I think me, you, and Jimmy went out for the baseball team. You happened to make the squad.
Yeah.
So I remember that. And man, you have a very powerful testimony because of the career. I mean, just because of who you are, and then the career field that you've chosen is a unique one that, by in and of itself, draws attention to, because there's not many people who want to sit behind a airplane with passengers or packages, or even by themselves and fly a plane in the sky and land it. You know, I like the convenience of going from one location to the other, but I don't want to be the person flying and
Hello.
landing it. you know. So, man, thank you very much, Brian Harris. This has been the Revisit Your Dreams podcast. This episode was called Top Flight, right? Propel Your Life to New Heights. Brian Harris is a 767 air captain at FedEx. He has propelled his life to new heights in more ways than one. And I hope that this episode encourages someone. I ask that you subscribe to this channel, like this episode, and share it with someone who you know would benefit from it. Brian dropped a bunch of jewels today, so I know that there's somebody that you know that can benefit from something that he said. So please please share, please subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Ride next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Revisit Your Dreams channel on YouTube.com. Thank you, Brian Harris. Everyone, have a good night. See you,
See you,
man.
boss.
All right.